Hi, this is Misha. And the problem is doing a personal channel. I always want to say we and us, and it's just me on this channel. Of course, Jay helps out a lot. Definitely does half the work or more on the main channel, but I don't want to be one of those people that uses the royal we because it just seems kind of pretentious. I have to always stop myself and say I. Anyway, that aside, my continuing revisiting of the Borg ships in closer detail. In the first one, we looked at the assimilated Arctic one as well as the unassimilated version and talked about how Borg ships were really taking over alien ships that were grown and modified according to the Borg. And I think this is another good example here. And this is kind of the ship with no name, because we really don't ever have a name for it, which isn't uncommon for a lot of Star Trek alien ships. This is the so-called Borg Renegade vessel, featured in Descent, Parts 1 and 2, Season 6, Season 7 of Next Generation, or also known as Lore's ship. This was the third Borg ship encountered by the Federation, and the second one we saw on screen, with the first, of course, being the very famous Cube. And we know nothing about this ship. It's been referred to as a Class 3, or Type 3, but we really don't know if this is a Borg designation, could be, or a human designation based on when it was encountered. It is very asymmetrical, very unusual shape, and therefore very cool. This is one I really had no idea what it looked like because, to my knowledge, there are no other physical models out there. So when it came in, it was interesting. Really enjoy that when that happens with these Eagle Moss models, when I get to learn about something new. It is larger than a Galaxy class and more powerful. Powerful enough they had to use a frickin' sun to destroy it. One thing I liked about that, they actually referenced a prior episode, which wasn't all that common in Next Generation. By that I mean the metaphasic shielding developed by the Ferengi, Dr. so-and-so. Frankly, I forget right now. Sorry if there's a little bit of blue on that. Mine likes to rock out of its little cradle, so I put a little blue tack on the bottom to kind of help it stay in a little bit. It obviously had a relatively large crew because we saw several Borg on the planet, and there were still several on the ship when it was fighting the Enterprise. And this definitely seems like it would be one that was taken over by the Borg. It doesn't seem like something the Borg would put together, although its asymmetry is definitely function over form, which does seem very Borg-like. And we did see a diagram of this in Voyager, meaning there was probably more than one, but it could have been something that an alien race had and the Borg assimilated multiples of. Or it could be multiple things stuck together. It almost has kind of a welded together thing with this arm and whatnot. It's just an odd ship, and that's neat. We didn't get a lot of new models in Next Generation because of the cost associated in it being a television budget. So it was nice that they gave us another Borg ship, and it was in a two-parter too. One thing this did feature, this was really the first time we saw Borg using transwarp conduits. I don't think they actually called them that in the episode. I think they just called them like spatial conduits. But later, they would be considered transwarp conduits, and they behaved the same. Where you activated them, they were kind of pre-existing. The ship would go through them and travel several light years quite quickly. So this was the first ship we saw using transwarp conduits. It's the Eagle Moss model itself, besides being unique in the fact that it exists, I like it. It's got a lot of metal. It's interesting. My only complaint, it seems a little small. I think because of how spindly it is, tip to tip, they kind of had to scale it down. I think it would have been nice if they had been able to maybe scale it up a 10-20%. I know it couldn't be full size, but I think a little more volume would have done it service. As it is, it looks kind of like it would be a small ship, and we know it wasn't. But that's kind of the nature of Eagle Moss. They all make them to a certain size, and they really have to, because you could never make all these ships to scale in Star Trek, because we have some ships that are barely bigger than a person, and we have other ships that are the size of a city in space, so trying to scale them together would be a fool's errand. So it is what it is. So yeah, another little Borg ship. This one perhaps an assimilated alien ship, and from a pretty key episode in Next Generation. And I think the only other time we saw it was on that diagram in Voyager. Could be wrong on that, but I believe so. We really don't know dimensions or top speed or anything like that. Well, that's about it, folks. If you could, like, share, subscribe, check out some other videos if you have time. Appreciate you tuning in. This is Misha, and I'll catch you very soon next time.